going to take a look at a catchy tune. This is Daydream Believer, as done by the Monkees, of course, in 1967. Really their second hit, right after, Last Train to Clarksville. But what we're going to do in this, the song really didn't have any guitar playing in it, but it had keyboards doing this little bouncy arpeggio kind of thing. So what I want to do in this lesson was recreate the keyboard part as accurately as possible and make it kind of fun to play. Discussion to save for another day might be making a whole instrumental out of it. I don't know. I'm toying with that idea, but we'll see. We'll see how people like this lesson first. Now the song, it has an interesting history because it was written by John Stewart, who, folky, going way back, was in the Kingston Trio in the early 60s for many years, and in about 1966 or 65, the band folk music was sort of given way to rock and roll, and they kind of went off separate ways. John eventually made a bunch of great solo albums, and great songwriter, kind of in the folk country vein, who finally had a hit in the 80s, maybe 70s. Oh, I should have researched this better. But with a very catchy tune called Gold. People out there turning music into gold. And anyway, more about John Stewart on another day. Although this is a song he wrote and didn't really think too much of it. Because he said, God, it's kind of a great song. The Monkees, by the way, changed the chord progression significantly and added all kinds of cool stuff. So I encourage you to listen to John's version. He did it sometimes in the key of D with a capo at the 2nd fret using C shapes. Later, other versions have him up at the 4th fret in E. But I may address that at a different time. But I encourage you to listen to John's version so you have a little idea of where it started. Now, John was not too impressed with the song, and there's a great video on YouTube of him talking about he says, God, I really liked everything about this song, but I'm not really sure about that one set of lyrics, Tua. You know, the line that comes out, he just says, to a daydream believer and a homecoming queen. And he wasn't really comfortable with that, but then he got word from the Monkees producer, Chip Douglas, I believe, that they wanted to do his song, but they wanted to change some words in there, or a word. And he's thinking, oh, they're not happy with that Tua thing. And he said, okay, what do you want to change? And he says, well, John had used the word funky in there, and they said, Davy Jones is just not going to sing the word funky in a Monkees tune. And they changed the line to happy. Now you know how happy I can be. Anyway, John said that was fine, and this song has kept him alive, he said, because of the success of the Monkees version. So anyway, enough about the history of the song and John, because what we're going to talk about is really just how to play it now. We're playing it in the original key, or not in John's original key, in the Monkees' original key in G. And what's going to be interesting about this is it opens up with a G chord and this little bouncing back and forth, open notes on the 2nd and 3rd strings being pinched with a G in the bass. Now, you may notice I'm getting this G in the bass at the 5th fret. That's because I decided to do this in drop D tuning so that we could get a D in the bass, a low D in the bass, below the G in the bass for the G chord, and play a D7 chord and get the same voicing that we had on the key that was done on a keyboard, going from a G in the bass down to D, which is the 5th of our G chord, our G scale. So this little opening is done like that. And I'm playing the 2nd and 3rd strings, following it with the 4th string. Then going to a D7 chord, although I only play the 2nd and 3rd strings of it because I'm not even going to use the 1st string. We want to hear a C and an A, and really need to hear that low D in the bass to get the right effect. So, interesting kind of thing that evolved here is the song is not in the key of D, but doing it in drop D tuning really offers us the ability to get some of the stuff that the keyboard gets that doesn't work well in the key of G on the guitar. I also thought about doing it in A. But decided G is the way to go. So, coming up, we'll talk about the chord progression. You can take a look at the chart, and it's quite different. Most of the charts and tablature that are out there to this do not have it right. They say it goes from a G chord to an A minor to a B minor, and it doesn't exactly. So we'll break all that down too as the lesson goes on. Okay, enough talking about it. Coming up, the chords, talking about the picking a little, although you just saw the picking, but we'll get a little close up of that. Okay, Daydream Believer, on the way.